Yes. We'll do our best, and hopefully there is work that people who join for other sessions can do.
Yeah, and more people are joining now. And good morning, Professor Woutrina. I saw you just joined, but there's some, issue with the naming system. So your name is with my name. Can you please rename yourself in the Zoom?
Oh, yeah, sure. No problem. I was just coming from another call.
Yes, thank
Let's see,
you.
rename.
And thank you everyone for joining today instructional design webinar session. And we are seeing more and more participants joining. So we will be starting in 1 minute. And we would like to request you and inform you that this webinar will be recording so that the other participants who cannot join can access the webinar later. So that's just for your information and sharing you. And if I think we are ready, we can start the session first with Professor Dele from the we are also trying to do the live streaming of this webinar on the YouTube. And this will be our first time. So you can also, share your colleagues who can join the YouTube later. I think we can start now. So
Okay.
I would like to over to Professor Dele. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tura, and let me join you in welcoming everybody who's logged in now. We expect that more people will join as we proceed, and it is a good idea to live stream it because we can capture many different types of platforms. So I want to also welcome my colleagues at the UC Davis team for One Health Workforce Academy. And hopefully the time we spend together today and for the next 2 sessions of this webinar will be productive and lay the foundation for continuing engagement. In addition to the video recording of the Zoom, I certainly will make these slides available for everybody through the SEAOHUN Secretariat so that you can consult and have an opportunity to review and ask questions. We're hoping that the instructional design series will be a living process and that we build on it as this project evolves. So I just wanted to capture what we envisioned when we thought about this activity within the One Health Workforce Next Generation project. And really thanks to Tura for the brainstorming to think about how we want to empower the One Health Workforce Academy for the Southeast Asia region. We really think of the SEAOHUN One Health Workers Academy as a unique platform for training and empowering the next generation of workers and leaders who are charged with designing and implementing One Health approach toward global health security issues in the region. And the idea is there will be courses and case studies developed by regional faculty. Many of them are here with us today, hopefully. And that subject matter experts will share their expertise and knowledge so that these courses are of the same quality and standards as we would expect for any kind of international training program. And we already have examples of courses developed by the Global Consortium on the main One Health Focus Academy website, and I'll share some of that with you today. And so we really want to share best practices. The field of instructional design is rapidly evolving. There are all kinds of tools available and learning platforms and ideas about how best to make sure that the outcomes of instruction are not just people listening to the theory and the applications, and then they can't use that information for themselves to really inform the work that they do. So the whole idea of competency-based training has been accepted in the One Health field very, very early, which it really means that when we design courses, we want to have an outcome where people are empowered, that they are competent, that we can trust them to make decisions and to implement programs the way that would protect global health. So the agenda for the series, we're having 3 events. Today is the first one. For us here in the United States, it's just the 4th of March. It's in the afternoon, late afternoon. But for Southeast Asia, it's Tuesday, 5th of March. So that's why you have these 2 dates. And so today we're going to cover an overview of instructional design models and hopefully have some exercises and homework that you can use to test these models. And then we'll talk about learner needs and how to use that information in designing your courses. Then we'll have an example of how this has been working for an expert on this topic. And then the second session will look at how to develop learning objectives. We'll look at creating learning materials, storyboards, session plans. And then the final session will look at how to design evaluation strategies, tools, quizzes, homework, team assignments, and most importantly, for online training, particularly asynchronous training, where people are working in service professionals, how to promote interaction, because One Health is not something that you do on your own. There's collaboration and partnerships and teamwork. And learning together is more impactful than learning separately. So that's the agenda for this series. I want to make sure that during this time we have together today, that you feel free to write in the chat box. I think we have, I will try to pay attention if somebody wants to can't hear me or wants another way to engage, please let us know. I think it's possible to just unmute and say something, but other than that, I would encourage everybody to mute their microphones so that we don't have interference. But you can certainly feel free to share, your needs or concerns. So what do we expect at the end of the webinar series? We really look forward to doing our own evaluation. We did a very small survey before we actually settled on the dates for this seminar series. And we asked questions about what people want to learn, but we didn't get as many people who registered to respond to that survey, but it was very informative. And we will also try to evaluate the impact of this webinar series on your work. Has it been helpful? So we hope that by the end of the 3 events that you're enabled to plan, develop, implement, and evaluate instructional materials, and that you judge their effectiveness. You should also be prepared to incorporate new technologies and methods into your courses, And as I mentioned, this is always going to be a living process. There's never an end to the kinds of tricks and best practices and skills that we can use to improve outcomes. So we hope that this is a primer for your own development of expertise. But ultimately, we want to make sure that what we teach for One Health and that the SEAOHUN One Health Focus Academy is excellent and sustainable and continues to grow. So we already spent the first 5 minutes. We were waiting to make sure people logged in at the right time. But you will see everybody who's been very active in helping us with today's activity on the Zoom. I think when we logged in, everybody had Tura's name, but that's changed. So I want to acknowledge Tura and team for helping us with today. But also with us, you might have seen Dr. Cheryl Meehan, really very, very active in helping the One Health Workforce Academies. Sonia Neumeister has been working with us with the planning and organization of not just the concept notes and how to make this work. And I see Professor Woutrina Smith, who will also join us on the podium, the Zoom podium, after this initial presentation. But we also have many other people who have been very active. Professor Syafinaz Nordin will also join us in presentation today. So I'm going to be the one on item number 2 to give you an overview, which we just went through, linkage to the SEAOHUN activities for year 5, why we're doing this, and how to complement other work that's going on. And then I will begin approximately 20 minutes of models for instructional design, and then we'll have an analysis of learner needs and a case study. And then hopefully we'll have some time for discussion and planning for the next activity, the next time we meet. So the short-term outcomes for today, that you will be able to identify and explain some of the key theories and models of instructional design, that you'll be able to conduct needs assessment to determine the goals and objectives of instruction. We'll start thinking about learning objectives, and because in a way the outcomes should determine, at least influence very strongly, how you assess and then how you develop the objectives for the learners to make sure that you're all on the same page and you're not teaching one thing and they're thinking of something else. And then hopefully there will be opportunities to hear from you about some of your own practices and how we can complement that with additional activities. There are long-term outcomes that we are hoping will come out of this. And so the long-term outcomes, really being very comfortable with instructional technologies, creating materials which we can't possibly complete in a 3-session program, how to implement them on the platforms that you're familiar with and your students and learners are familiar with, and to be able to evaluate and assess how effective and then make changes based on that assessment. There are even longer term outcomes that we're hoping will come out of this. And we don't want this to just end with us giving presentations that you will be able to, through community of practice around instructional design, think about applications of ethical standards and practices in the age of AI and really digital access to all kinds of information, we want to make sure that that's included in your practice. And then reflecting on professional practice, how effective are we in the One Health community, and the ultimate outcome that we are being encouraged to pursue, which is to keep the world safe from all kinds of risk factors. And then sharing amongst yourselves, amongst the region, collaborating and communicating effectively, and to be able to adapt with new technologies and new risks in One Health and new opportunities that may arise. So instruction has many, many different ways of impact, of exacting impact, and this is just the beginning. So just to give you an idea of some of the experiences that we have had in instructional design and implementation and tracking, assessment of how impactful these activities can be. I'm pretty sure all of you by now are familiar with the One Health Workforce Academy's website. If you're not, all you have to do is start typing into your Google One Health Workforce Academies. This page will be the first to show up. You click on it and it takes you there. You can register, access to the site, pick your username and password, and we have training, we have faculty resources that you can benefit from just by reviewing what's been going on. And hopefully, we hope that you will be able to contribute. When we were designing the academy itself and what to offer, we did do a survey. I'm pretty sure some of you participated as respondents on the survey. Many of you may have been authors on the article that came out of that study. And so we know that the One Health Workforce Academy, what it offers is needed. And there is demand for these kinds of courses that are competency-based. We looked at all kinds of competencies. Not all of them are equally represented in the employment situations where our respondents are, but a lot of that work that is already going on informed the kinds of courses that we have developed. If you haven't seen this paper, I encourage you to take a look at it. It's very informative, in my opinion, and it has participants and authors from AfroHUN, SEAOHUN, and of course, international organizations that are interested in One Health in the global consortium. So what do we have so far? And thanks to Cheryl for updating this slide and being our shepherd for enrollment on the One Health Workforce Academy website. So as you can see, we have more than 4,000 people who are registered learners on the academy. Many of these from SEAOHUN region. We have 92 countries represented. We have almost 60% female, so we don't have a gender inequity in terms of the health sciences where maybe males may dominate. We have a good representation here. And we have pre-service students who are taking courses, and we have more than 7,000 course enrollments, which implies that at least many people are enrolled in more than one course. So you can see the list of courses and their popularity by the numbers on the left side of this column. Antimicrobial resistance is always popular, but fundamentals of One Health. Epidemiology is up and coming, but that can be accessed in different ways. And so this is, we launched this just over a year ago, and it's delightful to see the excitement that we have in the number of people who have shown interest. And I'm pretty sure the SEAOHUN Academy will see similar interest, international interest, as we're seeing also with the AfroHUN Academy. They're launching their own program in April when they have the annual conference. And so the idea behind this seminar, this webinar series, is to make sure that the courses that I just showed you on the Global One Health Workers Academy website, that we have similar standards, similar appeal, similar ways of evaluating whether somebody becomes competent. And for that, we need to share these best practices for instructional design. We have faculty resources on the academy itself, and my hope is that what we come out of this webinar series will become one of the resources available to other faculty who may not be able to join us today. Part of the faculty development program is a focus on pedagogy, and that really situates what we're doing today in instructional design. Under pedagogy, we have a vision, as I noted, for excellence in creating a faculty scholars network. And we're beginning that today. I see maybe 60 people already on the Zoom right now, about 140 registered for this series. So we're already building that faculty scholars network through programs like this. So I encourage you to take advantage. In addition to the faculty scholars network opportunities, we have on the faculty development page the competency framework that you can download and review for One Health. And it includes some of the traditional ways of creating instruction along the Kirkpatrick model for evaluating training at the 4 levels. Many of you may be teaching undergraduates. Some may be teaching experts who are already in the workforce, and judging the type of activities that we want them to be competent with is quite important. So that resource is available for you to consult during this course. When we decided to have this webinar series, we did try to, as I mentioned, get information on your experience. So many of you did teach online courses during the pandemic, but we all kind of scrambled to do that, and you know, really rapid training in what to do with online courses. But now we have a lot of experience that we can share. And many of you also expressed interest in joining a community of practice. Again, the responses here is not a lot, but I'm hoping that it's representative of those who are joining us today. So I'm going to pause now to give Putra an opportunity to share with us some of the activities that SEAOHUN Secretariat is planning that aligns with this course instructional development webinar, because I understand that some awards are going to be giving for faculty to actually develop courses, and I hope that the applicants are here with us today. Putra, do you want to share with us where that is and how this aligns with SEAOHUN's programming?
Yes, Professor Dele, thank you. Thank you, everyone. And I was just trying to share very quickly because we are a little bit behind the time. And so I just would like to give very quick update of what we are right now in terms of Southeast Asia One Health Workforce Academy, which we used to call like SEAOHUN. So in short form, we announced the call for application to develop the One Health online courses in the local languages in our member countries. And we already closed the call for application, and we received many applications. Well, but when we screen, we have like in total like 40 applications from like different countries. And we are now in the stage of evaluating the application with in-country experts and the regional expert. And we hope that we can announce the award winner very soon, hopefully in the next few weeks. Then after that, we're gonna do some contractual things, and we hope that we can develop the online courses in the local languages hopefully in April, or maybe even if it is too late, maybe in May. So there is a plan after, we develop the courses. We were trying to upload those courses on the South Asia One Health Workforce Academy so that the learners in the South Asia region, they can access the One Health online courses easily in their local languages. So that's the plan and that's the objective. And also, relating to this webinar, we also send the invitation to the applicants who apply in the One Health online course development call. So that I hope that most of them are already in this webinar, and we hope that, and we were trying to support you in terms of getting more knowledge and skills in terms of instructional design, because today we have our global experts and also regional experts who are quite experienced in the instructional design and online course development. So we hope that we can learn from that, and we will also have some, discussion session and the Q&A session, so you can ask any questions or anything that you want to with those experts. And I hope that time will allow today. And I would like to over to Professor Dele. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tura. I appreciate that. And as you said, we hope that this is going to be an ongoing program. It doesn't end with the 3 webinar series and the topics we're covering, really setting up that community of practice is critical, so that those who get the award can learn from one another as they develop their courses, and they can also share with those who may apply next year. So we're a little bit behind, but not by much. So as I noted, today we have 3 speakers. Myself, I will go first with some of the theoretical ideas around instructional design, and hopefully introduce you to a quick way of expressing your own ideas and facilitating your thinking around best practices. And Professor Woutrina Smith will talk about learner needs, and then Professor Syafinaz Amin-Nordin will talk about her experience and share some of the best practices that she has had. So let me then begin by talking a little bit about instructional design models. As I think when I introduced myself, I am at the University of California in Irvine, and I also direct the education program for the University of California Global Health Institute. And this week I will be in Los Angeles for the Consortium of Universities for Global Health, which is a network of universities just like SEAOHUN, except it's global in its reach. And for the consortium of universities, I'm responsible for leading the competency subcommittee of the education committee. And throughout these experiences, I think about how to design online courses, because the only way to reach a wide range of people internationally is to have some online content. And that's been a blessing, because there's just so many people who need to have the training, but not the resources to travel and to enroll in matriculated institutions. So over the years in my own courses, I've come up with this framework, what I call the learning quadrangle. And it's a way I think about developing new courses or implementing or troubleshooting existing courses. And you could, these arrows are circular in a way because technically you can start anywhere in the quadrangle. But I often start with thinking about what do we know already about a topic, and that's the research part. And for me, it's like really a good way to bring students into the conversation around the topic. So they can go use Google to search for images, to search for text, published articles, just by using keywords. And then in Reveal, they share this with the rest of the class. And practically almost everybody comes up with different types of information, different era, different perspectives, and it encourages them to reflect on the variety of information that's already present in the literature or on the web about the topic. And then we challenge them with a reform question. What would you do differently, knowing what you know about this topic? And ultimately, a lot of them are inspired. They want to actually try out their reform to see if it will make a difference. And so that's really the circle that I generally go with. It doesn't quite fit some of the traditional instructional design models, but it works very well for certain types of courses and certain types of competencies that you'd like to encourage in your class. Before we begin a conversation in the class, I would inspire them with a story about that topic. And in a way, that's sort of, what are the problems in this field? What outcome do we envision will come out of that? And then they go on and do the research, and then we repeat that for every topic. And sometimes we begin with implementation. Something has been implemented and it's gone really wrong. It's gone bad. And then we go back and do the research. Why did it go wrong? Share with others, reflect on it, and propose a change. Now, if you search the literature, and this is not for us to piece out every word in this page, but if you look at the literature, you'll find a lot of different models of instructional design. One of the most popular ones is the ADDIE model: analyze, design, develop, implement, evaluate. And they all have some strengths and they have weaknesses. And you can really look at the learning quadrangle that I just showed you, and you can actually fit many of these theoretical models with what I've practiced, right? But they all have different ways of thinking about the analysis, the design. Is it learner-centered? Is it structured and sequential? Is it rigid and not flexible enough? Does it push students or learners to go out and on their own? Does it encourage teamwork? So you'll find that many of these models will have some things you like and other things that may not really work for you. The one that we have used quite a bit in the One Health Workforce Academy, and I think it was part of a workshop delivered last year, is on what we call the backward design model. And there is a video of one of the authors, Grant Wiggins, of the Understanding by Design book. This is a good book if you're interested in what it means to do backward design. But it's really saying, start with what you are expecting, the outcome. What is the learning outcome? And then how are you going to measure whether or not students have achieved the competency that you get that outcome? Then you design the lessons, the learning objectives, and you produce the content that you want to accomplish each time you meet with the students. And so this has been a very popular, at least in the United States, of really focusing on the outcome. It's not saying you're teaching to the tests that the students will have to take at the end of the course, but you keep your eye on what you expect them to accomplish, on the competency to be gained, and then you go back to, can I actually know when they accomplish that competency? And so the assessment method is very central. And then, how do you teach to make sure that when you do that assessment, it will be there? So it's a very simple, deceptively simple, identifying results. What's the evidence that they can actually accomplish those results, and then you plan the learning experiences accordingly. So that's one of the most popular ways, and I think it fits the competency-based training that One Health has emphasized from its beginning, which is the results, what competency will be gained. So if you think about the first stage, the desired competency, what should learners hear, read, view, encounter. That's the lowest priority, And then the knowledge and skills that you should master, and then the ideas, the big ideas that they need to end with. So it's really a very well thought out way of designing a course. In the second stage, the evidence. Again, you're using term papers, multiple choice questions, essays, field evaluations, simulations. That will be, it is a lot of work in designing these assessments, but once you pass stage one, it becomes a little bit easier to think about which one of these approaches will be most appropriate. And then in the third stage, really now planning your experiences and instruction. Are you going to give them facts, concepts, principles? What activities will they do? There is, flipped classroom where you share a video with them and they come back and discuss. A guided note taking, so all kinds of opportunities for them to be able to make sure you can assess how the progress that they are making, and that the outcome that you establish would be easy to ensure. Now, there are many templates to help you in this process, and this is just one that sort of gives you, the three stages: desired results, stage 2 evidence and assessment, stage 3 the learning plans. And in each one of these stages, guiding you on how to write some of the activities that will clarify in your own mind what is it you want the students to learn. Now, there are special considerations for asynchronous online courses that may be a little different from what we would ordinarily do with in classroom. These are in-service professionals who may want to engage with the course at any time. And so teamwork may be challenging. And then there are just a wide range of learning management systems that may or may not accommodate the need. So for the One Health Workforce Academies, we've used LearnDash. So if you've come to the site, you would have a good feel for what LearnDash looks like and how to engage with it. And we have instructions on how to design courses behind the website itself, so you can reach out to us. On my campus in the University of California, we use Canvas, and this is what my site looks like. because I have developed many courses, and each one of these boxes is for a course that I've developed. I can share them, I can copy them, I can review them over time. And this is a course that I'm teaching right now with 300 students in it. And it's very transparent. On the left side are tabs for students to engage, for me to see the assignments and the grading. So every learning platform is different, but you get used to it. I'm going to go through this very quickly. So one of the things that you need to think about with competency-based course design is really, as I mentioned, these are the 3 stages, but really how you assess is critical. And we cannot but think about the use of artificial intelligence. And this is now part of instructional design and course evaluation, and making sure students actually learn something. They're not just taking things out of AI. There are many, many of these tools. Every day there's a new one that claims to be better than the other ones. And some of them are good with educational systems, others with movie making. But I'd like you to not shy away from using artificial intelligence in instructional design. And one of the exercises I hope we will get to is to use ChatGPT. So my campus just started what we call ZOT GPT, University of California, Irvine. Our mascot is the anteater. And I actually did an experiment. I typed in ZOT GPT to give me an example. This in the blue, I don't know if you can see this was what I typed in. Give me an example of backward design for a course in One Health. And it took about 30 seconds and it gave me a 3-page output, right? Essentially each of those stages was very well written. I don't know who wrote them. It's in the cloud somewhere, but it was very informative. And each stage told me exactly what I would need to do. And I don't have to use this exclusively. I can read this and understand what it's saying, and it can guide me on how best to find resources to support my teaching. So there are each of the stages that we went through. The assessment tools are also generated by this ZOT GPT. You have to use the quizzes or exams, and each one of these you can pose additional questions. And then this is the stage 3. How do you plan the actual lectures? So I know that many of you will have access to some kind of chat GPT exercise. I would really encourage you to play around with different models of instructional design that you can challenge your own information and pose it to the chatbot and see what it comes up with, because that's another way to expand your network of information. And if it's inaccurate, you can certainly make sure that you don't use inaccurate information. And what I tell my students is, I need you to always cite whatever source or tool you use, and including chatbots. So I see it as a tool that will continue to be influential, and I want us to be able to use it in designing courses, in designing assessments. So I'm going to end by asking you to do a little bit of a homework. On the left side of this screen is what I have for this week, and then we have the homework in yellow. I put in the box a link to a Jamboard, and there are 20 pages on the Jamboard. When you click on it, you'll get to page 1, and each page has the title of a One Health competency domain. So I'd like you to go to the page where you are hoping to develop a course on that competency domain, right? And so beginning with stage 1 of the instructional design, backward design model, write out an outcome. What would you want students to know about that competency domain? So on the sticky note, you write it there, and I can hopefully demonstrate it when I stop sharing this. And then for the homework, you will, if you have access to an AI tool, ask the AI to give you a lecture on how to accomplish that outcome. And then when we come back, you can actually place what you find on AI in the Jamboard. It will be available to you anytime between now and the end of this whole webinar series, actually indefinitely. So this will be a good resource for us to keep coming back to over time. So that's, I think, yeah, I'm going to now yield to our next speaker. Hopefully we won't run out of time, but thank you for that. I will be monitoring the Jamboard. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. But just go to the right page, type in your outcome, and then go to AI and see what AI has to say about it. Thank you. Now, Professor Woutrina Smith, I think you're up next.
Thanks so much, Dele. Thank you, Tura. Thank you, everyone, for being together today. Good morning, and I'm really happy to see we have over 60 people logged in right now participating. So I hope this will be just the beginning of finding interesting ways to work together. So I will share my screen here. And what we'll do over the next 10 minutes is take a deeper dive into some of the approaches that can be practical and helpful with regard to analyzing learner needs. So let me just share my screen. We have our desktop.
When Dr. Woutrina is sharing the screen, I would like to request Professor Dele to respond some of the questions in the chat regarding Jamboard. I think it should be okay.
Yes.
If we sign in and we just need to give the access so that they can do their homework, right? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So what I'll share here is something which I have found very helpful, and thank you to Sonia also for helping us to prepare a few slides that summarize some of the helpful approaches that you might want to use when you're interacting with learners that you may not know very well. So when we think about why it's important to interact with the audience or with the learners that we're going to be having in the online courses or in the workshops or whatever form of learning you're choosing to take on, these approaches can apply across many different formats. So what you can see here is some of the reasons why we think that analyzing learner needs is worthwhile. Once we identify our learner needs, we're able to think about, okay, based on what we know of those learners and their interests, how are we going to define the learning objectives for the activities that we're going to undertake? How are we going to structure our courses or our activities so that our learners will find them useful and will be able to achieve those learning objectives? So the circle that you see here is just giving us a little bit of an outline, some of the steps that go into the instructional design process. And it often starts with identifying the learner needs, and that will feed into how we create our activities and eventually how we might even evaluate the effectiveness of our teaching and learning activities, whether it's in person or online, etc. So hopefully this will be useful in many different ways. Later in the webinar series, we will take a deeper dive on evaluating effectiveness, etc. But for today, we're just going to think about how to gather the initial information in a very user-friendly format. So we do want to be able to think about whether we can personalize the learning experience based on different learning styles or preferences. We want to think about the motivation. So why are the learners coming to engage? What do they care about? What do they want to learn? And how can we make that really useful for them? And the third thing is to improve the learning outcomes and the process. So if we're able to take a more targeted approach based on what we know about the learner needs, then we are more likely to be successful in achieving those learning objectives, learning outcomes, and then impacts beyond that. A couple of examples of the types of learner needs that you might be thinking about. I know for me, I'm a very visual learner. It's powerful for me to see a picture or an image or a process depicted, whereas others that I know very well, they would prefer written instructions or written forms of teaching and learning for them to really absorb it and put it to work. Maybe you're someone who likes to touch or do things, more of a kinesthetic learner, or even an auditory learner. You like to hear someone talk about it, and that's what helps make it understandable and useful to you. So those different learner styles are something we want to keep in mind, and we can kind of explore that through a survey and through getting to know our learners or our audiences just a little bit. We might tailor our teaching based on the emotional, the cultural, the practical needs of our audiences. And so we can design a simple survey that can start to explore that. And that might help you really focus or target what you create in your particular learning activities. So how are we going to do that? To analyze learner needs, we typically will use some sort of survey or tool. I'm going to show you a Google form tool that Sonia created in just a moment and just show you how easy it is to use. Of course, there are very fancy ways to do that. You can use software that can do much more, but sometimes you don't need to be very fancy. Sometimes the basic approaches can be very helpful. Separate from doing surveys where we're asking people about what they want to learn, how they like to learn, what their interests are, of course, we can go and take more of an observation approach. If we have a chance to observe the types of learners or the types of students that we might be working with, we can get a feel for how they like to interact, what some of the successful approaches might be. And in some cases, interviews with the learners or with people who have worked with those learners before can be helpful to understand what is challenging, what has been successful. How might we explore that as we prepare upcoming learning activities? So one of the very simple tools that we all have access to, I think, are Google Forms. And Sonia very quickly created this as an example. You're going to have a chance to go through it in just a moment. A very simple survey. And things as you create your survey that you might consider are the type of question you ask. Do you want to ask a yes or no question so that it's very easy to compile the answers? Maybe if you want to ask a yes and no question, you still need to think about, should I give a third option in case the learner or the person that you're having complete the form doesn't know whether the answer is yes or no. Maybe they should have an option for other, or I'm not sure, or doesn't apply. So you can build in those extra answers or options when you create the survey if you think that might be useful. Sometimes your questions will trigger new questions. So if your answer was yes, then complete the next question. You can have a multiple choice type approach. You can have an open-ended approach. And all of that will affect how the results are compiled and then what you might learn. So sometimes it's very tempting to have a closed-ended question, a simple yes, no, or multiple choice question, because that helps us to quickly understand how many people chose which answer. But if there's lots of answers that are correct, maybe an open-ended or more of a qualitative exploratory question would be helpful, even more so than a closed-ended question. So you can think about that as you decide how you want to ask questions and what you want to learn from the people who are completing the survey. But I just want the take-home message to be there are very simple, freely available tools like the Google Forms approach that can do a lot of the work for you. if you would like to keep it a simple way to understand your learner needs. The approaches and the surveys that you might create can then actually compile the answers in a pie chart or a bar graph type format very quickly. And then you get that chance to visually explore what you know about your learners that will help you guide the actual activity itself. So these are not things that we went and created from scratch. These are things that were built into that Google form and then a very simple output. So all of you could do this very easily as well if you would like to create a survey and be able to use that for your own purposes with learner audiences or other groups that you want to gather information from. We want to think about the instructional design process as we create materials for the online environment or for new audiences. And so a few best practices to consider. One is, can you build a flexible learning style or a flexible instruction style into your activities? So as we mentioned, some people learn best by hearing you talk. Other people might learn best by seeing something written down. Other people want to touch or actually do something in order to really understand that process or that learning outcome. Other people might want to have a visual. So typically when we create our materials, and we're doing it right now, right? There's a picture in front of us, there's important on the slide, I'm talking to you about it, and we're trying to build in multiple learning styles so that there is a flexible instruction and learning opportunity there. For assessments that relate to your learning activities, you can think about what formats might be most useful and what your goal is to understand learner knowledge or learner competence. Is it that you want them to know a particular fact, or is it that you want them to know how to use that fact to solve a problem? Those are two different goals, and there are different types of assessments that you might utilize. If you just want to know whether they understood a fact and can tell you that information, then maybe a written assessment is just fine. But if you need to know how they're going to synthesize information, how they're going to problem solve, how they think, you might need to consider a different approach. Maybe a verbal assessment or a simulation assessment might be important to understand how effective the teaching and the learning was in that case. And the last point there is technology integration. So can we think about how the tools that we have in the current world might make our jobs easier or better? Should we be using the online format in order to reach many people, or would it be best done in person for other reasons? Sometimes language translation is something we worry a lot about. Can we teach and learn in the language that will be most effective? And that's gotten a lot easier. You know, the courses and the case studies that we've posted on the One Health Workforce Academy, they have the ability to be translated for everything that's written down on those pages very quickly by just choosing the language that you want to learn in. So it doesn't work for everything, you know, videos and PDFs and different files, et cetera, won't be automatically translated. But that's really where the SEAOHUN Academy comes into play. You all can work together to create materials in local languages that you think will be effective for your learners and your audiences, that might be much more effective than something that we've created in English on a global site. That's really special and an important opportunity for everyone to contribute in a way that they think might be productive. Okay, so it's your turn. We're going to take just a couple minutes. You can go ahead and scan that QR code, and that will take you to the poll that Sonia created. It's not a poll that you're going to be graded on, but it gives you an example of the different question styles that you might want to consider using in your own assessments. And then once we've given you just a couple of minutes to be able to complete that poll, we'll show you how the results display very easily, just to build your confidence that this is something you could do in your own activities if you would like to. So go ahead and scan the QR code, go ahead and complete the poll, I'm going to move out of the PowerPoint for just a moment so I can be able to show you how easy it is to compile the results, and then we'll wrap up for our middle session today. And I thank you for your patience as you've been really going along with the different speakers today. So go ahead and scan the QR code if you're able, and let's go ahead and try that out, and we'll see how it works for this group.
And I've also put the link for this in the chat if that's more convenient. So either scan the QR code or click the link in the chat.
Even better, Sonia. Perfect. I haven't projected the results quite yet. I wanted to give just another minute for folks who might be completing it, and then I'll pull up the little results here as well. Okay, so your specific answers aren't critical, but let me just show you what happened when some of you were creating those. So these are some of the questions that you just filled out for everyone who was able to go in and do that Google form. And then when you're an editor in the Google interface, if you click on responses, it's going to automatically show you what people said. So in this case, for the particular question, what specific knowledge or skills are you seeking to acquire through this One Health course? It tells us right here, we had 24 responders, and it was about 50-50 in the answers that were chosen between either choice A, understanding interconnectedness of human, animal, and environmental health, or choice B, developing skills for interdisciplinary collaboration. So I like this tool because it very quickly gives us a feel for what our learners are saying, or the people who are completing the surveys are saying, in a way that I can keep that in mind for my own tailoring of future activities. So hopefully this will give you the confidence to try it on your own, if that would be helpful. I'm a big fan of the pie graphs to just get a feel for what the different learners really think is most important. And then we can understand both demographics of the people completing the survey, as well as the answers they've chosen. So that's something that can be very helpful. So thank you to all of you who completed that. That activity might be hopefully useful for you in the future. And I just wanted to close with a comment here to recognize that, of course, all of these things that we want to be able to achieve have challenges. But if we work together to share best practices, to really think about how are some people overcoming those challenges, then sometimes it builds collaborations and confidence in moving forward. So a couple of the challenges we might typically think about is, how do we deal with limited resources, whether that's funding or time availability, for example? How can we really teach effectively if we have multiple learner profiles or learning styles in place? Maybe it's different levels of learners with different backgrounds. What can we do to make the materials accessible and interesting to everybody? And how can we continuously adapt? Right? We know that things are often evolving with regard to the tools that we can use or the most current knowledge. And we want to create opportunities to bring in those best practices in a very flexible and innovative way. So overcoming them can involve collaboration, it can involve technology, and it can involve ongoing exposure to new ideas and new approaches. And that's why we're doing this webinar series today, and we'll continue going forward. We'd love to stay in touch and be able to all share together what's working and what's not, so that we can come up with some of the most practical approaches to help each other wherever that makes sense. So I'm going to stop my my presentation there. I want to say thank you to everyone for being here, and I will go ahead and pass on to our next speaker.
Thank you, Professor Woutrina. Yeah,
go ahead, Tura.
I think
Yes,
we
you're
can
welcome.
invite Dr. Syafinaz, Professor Syafinaz, if you're ready to talk about or share your experience in the region in terms of instructional design. And if the participants have any questions or any, reflection or sharing, please leave in the chat. We will have some minutes to secure for the discussion and question answer at the end. And we also acknowledge the issue with the Jamboard, and we were trying to address at the end of before we close the call for today. Professor Dele, you want to talk something?
Yeah, the link should work now. I think the previous link was view only for some people, and now it's editor. So I think it's working already. So please log in and let me know. But if we have time, I'll also share the screen. Let me just maybe quickly while she's getting ready, I can share that screen. Thank you. Okay. Now I see some people already logged in. So you can, this icon here is the sticky note. You click on it and then you type what you want. If you're in the social science in One Health, if you want another domain, management, all the way to 20 domains. Okay, so please give it a try. Just go to the page you want and type in your learning outcome. Thank you. And we'll keep it throughout the webinar series. We can always come back and return to it.
Professor Syafinaz, are you okay to share the screen, or do you want any assistance?
Okay, I will share the screen. Okay, thank you, Tura, and good morning, everybody from Kuala Lumpur. Thank you, SEAOHUN and Tura and his team and my colleagues. It's an honor for me to be here today, to be one of the speakers for this first webinar. So I will share my slide. Can you see my slide now?
Yeah, it's good. Thank you.
Okay. Is it on slideshow?
Now is the, slideshow mode.
Okay. On slideshow, yeah? All right, so based on what Prof. Dele and Prof. Woutrina has shared with us just now, so in a way, I will also share some examples of what I do in my classes. So to start with, so basically the template that I'm showing you now is based on the models that Prof. Dele has mentioned earlier. So usually this is the template that I use based on my colleague who has passed away recently. So basically my template will have different columns as what you see here, which have the topic, the learning outcome, where you can have one learning outcome, two learning outcome, and so forth. And then the pre-instructional, basically what you want your students to do before you are having session with them. And then the content presentation, what kind of presentation that will occur in class. And of course, learner participation, because we want students to be engaged in class and to have active learning activities. And then after that will be the assessment. Although if you are using the backward design, of course, we always think about assessment that we want to give students, when we have the learning outcome. But for my template here, in a way, it is like a sequence based on what's going to happen when we have classes with our students. And of course, the follow through to ensure that learning activities or learning process happen, and to ensure there's retention of knowledge after the session. So this is an example of my class using the template. So for example, the topic is about zoonosis. So I will have a different learning outcome as mentioned here. So sometimes our learners, they may not know or they are not familiar about zoonosis or about One Health. So usually I will ask them to watch this video, which is a trailer of a movie, Contagion. So sometimes when they watch this video, we can have discussion in the class, or sometimes if they are interested into knowing more about the disease, they can also find out and watch the movie, which I believe it can also be accessible like platform like iTunes, and so forth. So like describe the characteristic or to explain the clinical manifestation, because I'm teaching medical students. So they need to do the task before classes so that we can discuss in class. So content presentation wise, I will have my slides for an introduction and maybe to summarize at the end of the session. But sometimes students will also prepare their slides or other summary or discussion that they may have so that they can also present in class. And we also have our learning management system where they can upload all the information, or we can also upload all the information into the learning management system. And the participation or the discussion will occur during the synchronous online session, especially during the pandemic when all teaching were performed in via online or virtual classes. And usually what I do is I have my own Padlet, so I will ask students also to post on Padlet, because I find it beneficial for them to post on Padlet so that I can refer to the Padlet in the future as my reference and to see what they have posted in a way that can be an assessment or informal assessment, which we can give feedback, like a formative assessment. And at the end of the session, I will ask them they can work in group if the class is very big. If the class is, let's say, 20 or more, they can work in group and they can decide on whether to divide the task among themselves, or they can also do like a mind map to summarize the whole topic. And I will ask them to submit into the learning management system or to the Padlet. Okay, the other example, okay, so this kind of materials, you can use for synchronous online learning, and it can also be used for blended learning, and then the pre-instructional can be your flipped classroom. Okay, this is another example where I asked them to watch another video, but sometimes we are not sure whether students really watch the video. So usually maybe, some excerpts from the video, or maybe I take some screenshot from the video, and then I will post some questions to Padlet where they can answer before the class, or I can also ask them during the class. So let's say maybe there's a bubble here, maybe I can remove the bubble one by one so that can, in a way, show the face of the characters in the video, so they will try to answer my questions or to discuss about what's happening there. Especially like for some of the topics, it can have like psychosocial issues. So depending again on your learning outcome, if there's a psychosocial aspect in the learning outcome, we can also have a discussion during the session. So these are some examples of materials that I use for students to prepare before class. So sometimes I use poem because I'm into poem. And then sometimes if you use cases, right, we can also use or include scenario that can simulate real life situation so that students can relate especially when they become future One Health workforce. And of course, the movie trailer that I mentioned earlier. So this is another template. If you feel that the one I showed you have too much information, this is another template that you can also use in a way related to what Prof. Dele has shared earlier. When you have your learning outcomes and you know what kind of assessment that you want to give, and then you plan the content or the activities for students to be involved when you have classes with them. So the assessment, as I mentioned, it can be informal, it can be formative. So because it's important for us to provide feedback to our students. So during the discussion, we can check their understanding, for example, about One Health concept, and then how they apply what they learn in the task, especially, for example, we know that they have a prior knowledge before they enter into the university. So hopefully they can also apply that knowledge. And sometimes maybe we are teaching our classes in the second semester and they have in the early semester they may have other topics that can be related to the current semester, so hopefully they can also apply that knowledge. And after that, reflection is another useful on our assessment method for us to see how students has progressed in their learning. So for asynchronous, just like Prof. Dele mentioned, our team has developed an online module during the COVID-19. Actually, during that time, we hope to have a training workshop for hands-on training. But because of pandemic, it is a challenge, right, for us to meet face-to-face. So instead, we develop an online learning. But of course, as Prof. Dele has mentioned, the challenges of doing an online course. But for this module, it is a collaboration between a few universities in Malaysia. And then we also include people from various backgrounds, such as clinical microbiologists, public health physician, other medical doctors, like those in infection control, and then also people from education, people from IT, and other backgrounds, to help us to have like a comprehensive module that can address different backgrounds of among our One Health workforce, whether the current one or the future ones. So this is the objectives of our online module. So mainly is to demonstrate the molecular test for COVID-19 based on good microbiological practices and procedures. So we had a regular discussion before we actually started to develop the content. So this is among the learning outcomes that we had listed, and then the mode of the content of the module. And the assessment, because this is like asynchronous, what we did was we have a pre-test assessment and pre-test assessment and post-test assessment. And then as you can see for like number 6, the perform is a bit challenging to actually assess performing, but it can be a long-term learning outcome, or this module can also be a supplement to whoever teaching or to whoever has courses related to laboratory techniques. So perhaps they can use this video as a supplement, but they can assess their students performing the methods. So more about the module. So this is how the module looks like. And then the topics. And of course, we know that in order for us to engage students, the video cannot be long. So for each of the content, our video is actually less than 5 minutes. If I'm not mistaken, about 3 to 4 minutes. Okay, like what you can see here, less than 5 minutes. So that's all that's all that I can share with you based on what we have developed so far with respect to online material. But of course, you can also use other methods such as problem-based, where you can share like a trigger and then proceed from there, which you can also done by virtual in addition to doing it by face-to-face. So for my activity, I hope you can scan the QR code and try to fill or try to answer the question that I have posted there. I will give you a few minutes and then we will see what participants have filled for the Padlet. Thank you very much.
I also just posted that same link in the chat if that's more convenient for anyone.
Okay, sure. I will stop share first.
Prof. Syafinaz, do you want to share the screen of the Padlet that the participants are responding, or was
I can. Just one.
because I saw some are already put in, responding to your exercise.
Okay. Can you see my Padlet?
Yeah, I can. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome.
So, Prof. Syafinaz, we will got some, few minutes to, participate in this exercise, right?
Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 minutes because I think now already
Okay.
20 plus 11. Oh, I leave it to you, Tura. What time that we need to stop for the Q&A?
After your this exercise, we can open for the Q&A session and the discussion.
Sure. Maybe 1 minute?
Yeah. Okay. Because I saw many sub topics. Yeah. 1 minute. Okay, that's good. This is just an exercise, right?
Yes. In fact, you can also fill it after the webinar, and the link is still accessible. So in a way, perhaps you can also use this if you want to connect to other participants in the future. Yeah?
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And for the participant, we were trying to make sure the links stay accessible to you. Maybe we will put the links in the comments in the SEAOHUN Facebook post for this today webinar session so that you can access to the Jamboard link or the Padlet link so that you can, do this exercise or the homework before the next session. We were trying to do that. And I'm also trying to check with the speaker, facilitator, if it is possible to share their presentation with all of you so that you can have a look again if you need to have a look. And after their, consent, I will try to share with all of you later.
Yeah, so like for all the methods that's been posted here, so maybe it can also give ideas to the others what kind of tools are available online. So that's all from me. Thank you everybody for your kind attention and participation. Thank you, Tura. Back to you.
Thank you, Professor Syafinaz. Before we open for the Q&A and discussion, I think Prof. Dele, you might want to also, project the Jamboard, and I think many responses are also already there, but you might want to take 1 or 2 minutes to talk about that because some people are still asking what you asked them to do as a homework, right? In the Jamboard, I saw that one.
Yeah, thank you very quickly. And I've been answering questions also on Jamboard and also in the chat. So each one of these pages, this arrow on the, if you can, I hope you can see it, it goes to different competency domains in One Health: management, food systems and agriculture, toxicology, which always gets few. One Health Principles and Concepts should be the first one. Some of you may be developing courses, Ecosystems Health. There is a comment on climate change, which might come in here. Yeah, I see people are already infectious disease management, antimicrobial resistance. So the assignment, outbreak investigation and response, risk analysis, gender, culture, value, belief, ethics, behavior change, research, collaboration, communication, policy advocacy, systems thinking, leadership, implementation science. So the assignment is to compose just one sentence. You can use a sticky note. That's a sticky note. But if you want to write long, you can also use the text box. That lets you write all kinds of essays if you like. So those are the two ways to contribute. A sticky note will appear like the sticky note you've seen. And this is actually a good tool to get students, I'm going to delete this, to engage with a topic at their own time. They can do this anytime. Everybody has access now. You can edit, you can make changes to what you wrote before. So what we're going to do is take your drafts and talk about them next time, but we'll also now use a chatbot, a chat GPT or an equivalent, to see how you can design a lecture to get the outcome that you've described, what you want students to know about each of these competency domains. Now, you can cheat. There are competency domain statements of competencies in our competency framework, and look in there, but you don't have to. I think many of you who are already teaching or have ideas about what students should know in this, and then how you design an assessment and learning activities to get to the outcome that you want. And I recommend that if you have access to an AI tool, that you post that question to AI, as I did in my slides, that you can actually see what AI has to say about how you can use some of those ideas in creating the lectures that you might include in your course design. So I can see some of these are questions. I'll continue to answer them. I would encourage you to bookmark the Jamboard. You can click, once you are in there, just go to bookmark it. I use Safari, so you can always come back to it using the same link. It will be available to you 24 hours a day until the end of this webinar series. And we don't actually have to take it down. It can be a very good resource for the community of practice that comes after this webinar series is over. So I'm hoping to keep this permanently for SEAOHUN faculty to have access to how they've thought about it and what AI says. So you can return to the same page and read your outcome and attach to it what AI says you might want to design in a backward design model, what the activities ought to be. So that's the exercise. Are there any other questions before you all get to the next item on your day? So we have some homework, we have some demonstrations. Thank you again to all of our planners who helped troubleshoot the Jamboard, and Sonia, Cheryl, Professor Syafinaz and Professor Smith. Thank you for your presentations, and to Putra and team, thanks. Our next event. You should already have the dates in your calendar, but I'll be monitoring the Jamboard to see how you engage with it. And if you have any questions, you can email me, you can email any one of us, but you can also put it in the Jamboard. It will be a resource for us as we go through this webinar series, and hopefully with the community of practice that comes after. Thank you. Putra, any last word, or Woutrina, Sonia?
Oh, I mean, thank you, Professor Dele, and all the speakers today. I mean, we know that we are behind the time, and I also thank you for all the participants who give the time to join this webinar. And we have some, technical some issues, and we were trying to fix that in the future session. And we hope that we will see you again in the next two sessions. Then the next session on the March 19th. On 9 a.m. ICT time, it will be about the learning objective, how to develop learning objective, and how to create the learning materials like the storyboards or session plans. So we hope that you stay can join and participate, and we will try to make it more interactive. And also we can summarize the today webinar talkings in the next session. I think that would be all. But I mean, I would like to give like some time for the participant. We know that we overshoot, but I think we can take like 5 minutes. So if you have any, questions, suggestion, or comments before we conclude the webinar today, I mean, it's your time. You can raise your hand, or you can unmute yourself, or you can leave it in the chat, because I know that this is like quite we took too much time, so you might want to respond something, right? In terms of Prof. Dele presentation, or Prof. Woutrina, or Prof. Syafinaz, so anything. And like I said, I was trying to share, the PowerPoint presentation, and we were trying to share the links in the SEAOHUN Facebook post in the comment section, so that you can access there for all the things that we covered today. Okay, I think we are good. I don't want to take too much of your time again. Thank you so much for joining today's session, and we will send a reminder email again to you to join the next session at your available time. Thank you.